morning everyone, I'm just going to run you through how to use and set up Webex for online delivery of lessons and content. So I'm just screencasting from my device. Just be mindful when you do screencast, if you use another way that you can choose to deliver content, you're just mindful of what you have up on your personal computers. I know that I had this image here, which was me waiting in the library all alone during a session 5 tutoring class where no one came, and people made comment on it. The kids found it funny. Anyway, so if you go to Google Chrome and use Google Chrome as the best internet software to use, and then you type in the Webco or Cisco Webex just into Google browser, you are for the most part going to be taken to this site here. It might be taken to another one, but you'll be able to get there eventually. What you want to do is sign in, and with your sign in, you're just using your department email. Some of you have probably already signed in before, and because it's all part of the single sign-on, it should just take you straight to your account. So I've already set up my account here. What we can do is we can start a meeting, or you can schedule a meeting for a particular time. If you schedule a meeting, that will then go to your Outlook calendar and whatnot. But if what we want to do is schedule one, so we just leave it as the Pro 200 meeting topic. I'll just say year 10, gifted and talented close reading. Meeting password I would just change to something a bit more simplistic, gifted 2020, and I'll change the date and time. So let's put it for today, but 8:15 will do, and for an hour, done. Now what you can do is you can actually invite all your students, and they'll get an email that will take them directly to the page. However, can't be bothered putting in all my students' email addresses, so I'm not going to do that. If you go to show advanced options, we'll just come up with some additional things that you can do. Nothing all that interesting, but yeah, feel free to have a look. You can put in an agenda, which might be useful if we do end up closing and have to have team meetings, or meetings between our departments. Here you can require students to have an account. However, it's just a bit tricky if we're going to do that. What I would like to set, or what I'm definitely going to do for this one, is set up recording, just because I know that not every student will always be able to watch the video live. So if I record it and set it to automatically record, it just makes sure that that's going to happen. You can exclude the password from email invitations, but again, not too tricky. So what I want to do now is save that you can save that as a template, so that every time you schedule a meeting, it's just going to come through as that same template with that automatic recording, for example. But in any case, I'm just going to press start. And what you would do is you would have this meeting set up and press start when you're ready to go. But I will go back to get that on. So once you do it, you press start, and that would be live. And what the other students would then need to do is sign into that account. You'll see that this is already set up to record, but I'm just going to pause it quickly and just show you what I would do as a teacher to get the students online. So I'm just going to end the meeting. So if I click on this one here, it will give me the meeting link, the meeting number, and the password. So the students will need this to log in. So what I would do is I would copy and paste this information into a connect notice. So I did this on the last week when we had the trial online lessons for my gifted and talented kids. So I just copied and pasted that code here, the meeting code, and the gifted 2020 password. So I'm going to just do the same on a different computer, just so we can see what it looks like once we are up and running. But an easy way to use is this connect, just to let them know what they need to log in. When you join as a student, or as the students join, they get a page that just looks like join a meeting. I'll probably show you on my one here. Probably not, the camera's looking a bit dodgy there, but so what I want to do is enter that password and that meeting code. So 576 136 562. So And if I just start that meeting again, so start this meeting. And on the student screen, it will come up with join meeting. You don't need to sign in if you're a student, if you haven't put the requirement for them to sign in or use an email address. So for the students, it will come up with install the Cisco Webex meeting app and start collaborating. However, you don't need to do it. After some time, it will come up with just a hyperlink that says join from your browser. So I just instructed students to join from their browsers. And it will ask them to enter a name and email address once they get in. I would strongly encourage them to use their student addresses. For this, I'm just going to use just a Gmail account, just so you can see what it looks like from the teacher's thing. So what you'll see now is this is the student here, and you can probably hear the echo in the background. Now what you can do is you can do things such as muting the participants and whatnot, and also how it's seen on the TV. So what you can do is you can look at participant settings, and you can mute all the participants on entry, for example. And that's necessary, particularly when you're starting up, because as 30 kids come online, they all want to chat to each other. There are a few other settings. This is just in the web version, not the excuse me, not the desktop version, the app version, which I'll show you later. But there's just other things that you can just set. You can turn off your camera if you're not happy with having your face on there. But again, it's this little settings options. Participant setting, you can lock the meetings to prevent people from coming in. Something I'm going to do now is just switch to the desktop app. I think the desktop app is much better than the actual online one because you have more functions. So if you switch to the desktop app, and because I've already installed it, it will come up. So it's something that I recommend people install. It should come up in the background here. And I just think this user face is much friendlier. And instead of having the options down here, there are better options up here, particularly with preferences. So what you can do with this one here, because once they all start coming in, it comes all along here, so you can get a ding if they want as they come in. The best one, however, is select the tools you want to use in your meeting. So the chat is a wonderful function. However, again, you have to set the parameters about how they're going to use it and being respectful on it. But it's one thing that I would start by turning off, and then I would also allow all participants to turn on video. I would just turn that off to start off with. And then notes. So you want to have that control just so that you can set the expectations for how the meetings are going to run initially, because what does happen is, this is just me on here, and I can, so on my desktop computer as the student view, I no longer have the ability to chat. All I have is just, I'm seeing my face and that's it. So I can turn that back on. So on the student view, I can now say and then the chat will come up here as well, and you can see how easily it can be misused by people putting things like hello dickhead down like I just did then. So again, it's about making sure that you establish the expectations of how they're going to use it. the main one as well that I think is just so necessary is the muting all the students if you want to deliver some content or explain a particular point. But however, this mutes them, but students can unmute. So on my own one, I can just unmute it, and you'll see here, sorry, on my student one, so I can mute it as the host, and you'll see it come up with a little red arrow here. But on my desktop computer, as a student, I can just unmute it, and you'll see it's come back on. So it's handy, but what I found when I was using it the other day is that students were just unmuting themselves. So again, I think it goes back to the preferences. And there was one. I'm pretty certain there was one. Definitely that chat one, file transfer. Okay. I think that might be the only way of using it, so who knows. Other things you can do is set up poll questions and share content. The one that I find to be most useful is the using PowerPoint. So most of my lessons would have a PowerPoint that would be accompanied. So I'm just going to find a recent one. Yeah, that will do. So then I would just speak through the PowerPoint. So what you do, you go here, and then, where is it? Share. And so this is your host one. So what the kids can see now is just your screen. So then you just go share, and on the student one right now, what I can see is just the full PowerPoint as well as the chat. So then as the teacher, you can just go through the PowerPoint and obviously speak to the PowerPoint. Another thing that you can do, which is just a bit easier, I reckon, is just simply, let me go back up here, stop sharing, takes you back here, and instead just share your, where is it, screen. So again, they're going to see all of this, and on the student version, that's what they can see. Again, being mindful of what you have up and running, but then you just run your PowerPoint as you would normally. I'm just going to find it, doing it somewhere. So you don't, it's easier just to share your entire screen, so then you know what you're sharing. But again, being mindful. And then yeah, so that's what I can see now on the student view is just the entire screen and the PowerPoint as it's coming up. I find it was a bit laggy between the PowerPoint and the students one, and you'll notice on mine it's doing this kind of very sharp kind of black screen kind of flashing. It's not coming like that up on the student version. Okay. Once you've done all that, and you've delivered your content and whatnot, you would go back to the app. I'd stop sharing, takes you back to this screen here, and then so you'll see the recording has been in progress the entire time. So what we're going to do is just stop the meeting now. I'm just going to end the meeting, and on the student view that will completely stop as well. It will say the meeting has ended. What will happen after that is that the meeting will be recorded, and in about 3 or 4 hours you'll get an email link to the video recording. But one of the best things is you also get an email link to all the chat history, so you can actually keep a record of what students are doing on the chat. So it's a good another accountability tool, and just to ensure that responsible digital use. That's about it for this recording, so hopefully you found it somewhat useful. I'd recommend just playing around with it initially, and students are very malleable and will go along with you. I know Rowan Gerard did his the other day, and he said, yep, students were quite patient and willing to kind of work with him to work it out. The ones that I'd get you to think about is the muting and then the chat, and just being mindful of what's on your screen, just to make sure, because even here they can see the Black Mirror episode. They kind of made jokes about, you know, where I got that video from, for example. So, you know, just being mindful. Thanks for that. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. You all saw my email address before. Cheers. Bye.